Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz saxophonist, flautist, composer, and arranger Greg Abate. Over the course of our conversation, we talked about a great number of things. This Rhode Island native was part of the 2016 class inducted into the Rhode Island Hall of Fame. And this cat has had a very long and storied jazz existence. He got educated at the Berkeley College of Music and went on to become the lead alto in the Ray Charles Orchestra. He spends over 225 days a year touring the globe and has played with many jazz cats over the years. He has a lot of stories and a lot of insights. So please, get to know Greg and dig this interview, my friends.
More importantly, what I want to ask about that's gone on lately is your latest album, the live album. It was released in 2016 with Phil Woods at Chan's. Give me an idea of what it was like to perform with Phil and what this album means to you.
Well, that was our second recording. The first one was done in 2012, and that was our first encounter, our first meeting personally, the first time he came in session, but we had spoken on the phone a few times, and he had mentioned that he liked my playing and he'd like to do something with me. And so the second one came up after a series of different gigs through the country. We had gone and played in different cities, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Boston, different places, Delaware, New Jersey, etc. And then the second recording, the live one, was an idea. And playing on this next to him was like using no net because he wanted to have no rehearsal, and we just did it like straight live. And I actually forgot I was recording. He said there's been quotes saying that Phil brought the best out of me. And it was just like a zen feeling, and I absorbed so much from him just playing next to him, and hearing how he approaches things and melodically. But it was, and also playing with a person, an alto player that I emulated for many years, and having the opportunity and the blessing to be able to stand next to him and play, and he sort of like. He legitimized my playing, when you hear someone like Phil Woods say that, that I play with passion and I play the real thing, and my music is I make good music, and he likes to make music with me, and that's something that it's like playing, I guess, baseball with Ted Williams or somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you grow up in Rhode Island?
Yes.
Give me an idea of your childhood growing up. What made you gravitate towards music and more specifically jazz?
Well, you know what? That's a good one, Joe, because I don't know. I just had the feeling. I was driven. It's like a thing, a passion for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond when I was younger, a kid, but I didn't get into Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and all those great bop players till later on after I was at Berkeley College of Music, So I just, music is my life. It's like, it's chose me, really. I think that's what I am. I'm a musician, jazz artist, composer. I never get bored with it. Never feel like, I can't wait to get the horn in my mouth, sit down at a piano and write music.
So I want to ask you this. Why is it that the saxophone was your primary instrument?
I played clarinet first, was my first instrument as a child, and then I went into the saxophone in the 9th grade when I was in the jazz band at school. So they needed saxophone because the saxophones was 5 of us, and the clarinet went aside just for classical music. And then from there I remember buying a soprano. And then I get the tenor. I own a baritone, a lot of different horns and flute.
Sure. So let me ask you this. When you were a kid, was there a jazz album that totally blew your doors down that you were like, wow, I just heard something amazing?
I did like John Coltrane, the album with Miles Davis. And I liked the Cannonball Adderley and the quintet. It was John Coltrane kind of blew, and Miles Davis kind of blew with John Coltrane and Cannonball. And also, there's a Phil Woods album I really liked, Live at the Showboat, and that was really, I listened to that over and over again, and, just to hear, I just loved the way the phrasing was and the sounds, and the arrangements, you know. So that was one of them. I like that a lot. I like a lot of the great alto players, all the way, you know, from Benny Carter and beyond, you know, Lou Donaldson and you know, Sonny Stitt, Eric Dolphy, but there's all like Art Pepper was a favorite of mine too, and Phil Woods, of course, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you were a kid, was it always going to be music for you when you grew up, or were there other dreams you had?
No, I didn't have anything else I wanted to do. But like I said, the music was just an ongoing thing. I never really planned to be a professional musician. I just evolved into playing my instrument, and then I do some gigs here, and I play, and I join a different band, form a band. But I did other jobs as a kid, you know, like working in stores and doing doing caddying, or I would work as in a garage pumping gas and stuff like that, you know. But then when I was doing my music, it just stayed there. And, you know, after I really started to play, when I was in Los Angeles and doing things with different bands and Ray Charles, and I just continued to go and do my music, you know. I'm teaching at a college part-time, too, in Rhode Island. I teach there jazz studies, adjunct studies, and it's like I'm part-time teaching 4 courses at a college, and I've been there for 12 years in the midst of my touring and everything. I managed to hold it.
Yeah. So
are you in Kansas?
I'm in Kansas City. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I played the Blue Room there a lot of times, man. A couple of times. I'm trying to get back there. Just trying to get some find an agent in town or something to get me back to Bridgetown, you know?
Oh man, yeah, that's the place to play. That's the premier place.
I played there twice, but maybe I'll try again. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. I'd love to see you come here and see you live for sure.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you this: you were talking about being a teacher now, but let's go back to when you went to Berkeley. What did you learn in a formal environment like Berkeley about music?
Well, I learned that it's really intricate, and it's like really got to be spot on to make it the harmonies right and things. But you have to know the language of the music to improvise and play jazz. Although some of the great players didn't know theory that well, they just played more instinctively, and they just had a knack with the technique that they had to be able to make really nice solos. But I learned there's a lot of technical things I learned there, and that was in the 60s, late 60s. So it was the real jazz bebop school at that time, you know.
Yeah,
that's right. I learned how to write and compose, and ideas about composing and arranging and playing, improvising. I had done more when I was in school and worked harder at this stuff, but I did do quite a lot of work. You always go back and think you could have done it better, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Everything's 20/20 in hindsight, for sure.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what age does to you. The one thing that I find interesting is after you get done with Berkeley, you go out and you're the lead alto with Ray Charles Orchestra. That had to be a great experience at that point in your life.
It was. I did believe I got the gig because I did it. But, you know, I had no idea what I was getting into in the walking into there and doing the auditions. I feel kind of cool about that. I didn't know I'd play. I guess Ray did like my tone and my sound, and I guess I was good enough to be in the band. So I did work. It was an accomplishment, you know. And it didn't really hit me. I didn't get a big head about it or anything at my late 20s. I just did it like it was just something that I was doing, you know. And I was very happy to be with them, the band. It's an experience. I wish my kids would experience something like that in their life that makes them feel really good, you know?
Yeah. In 78, you formed Channel One. That leads to gigs with Artie Shaw's orchestra. What was that like?
Yeah.
What was that whole experience like?
Well, that was first, Channel One. That was I started writing, I went in to see a band play, and they were called the Vipers, and they were doing a lot of Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross, and they were doing a lot of New Orleans type jazz. You know, really, they had a vocalist, and he'd sing all these great tunes. And then they asked me to sit in with them. There was another sax player and trumpet player. I sat in, and then they asked me to join the band, and I joined the band, and then I started writing tunes, and it was totally formed and went into this other vein of music, and we replaced certain players and stuff, and we got other guys to play more modern. It was like a fusion band, and I wrote a lot of the music, and it became my band after that. So then that went on for several years. In the midst of that, I was playing in a big band with Dick Johnson, this clarinetist that took over the Artie Shaw book. He was another mentor of mine, alto player and great clarinet player, because Artie Shaw gave him the book. Artie said he was the greatest clarinet player he ever heard in modern time. So Dick got the job as the Artie Shaw leader and playing the Artie Shaw parts. Artie would still be there in body, but he wouldn't play, and he'd come with us on gigs. But Dick hired me to play the tenor chair, one of the tenor chairs. So I got to do that for 2 years, and I learned a lot about Artie Shaw and the music and the tradition of that style of the American songbook tunes. It's not another education right there. And then after I left that, I went into my own. I started to go to Canada, and I was playing in Quebec City and in Montreal, and I got that night I was in Montreal, people from New York and London record company were there, and they asked me if I'd like to record an album for the Candid label, and I said yeah, and it happened for 2 years later. I did my first recording in New York at Birdland with live with James Williams, Rufus Reid, and Kenny Washington, and then that led to other recordings with Candid, and then I started to go on the road, do things like coming to Kansas or going to St. Louis or California. And the first gig I got from my first recording was out KBEM in Minneapolis. They called me up and said, "Hey, you want to come out here and do a thing at this club we're booking?" And I went out there, and then that led to other stuff, and then people like you calling me, and that sort of thing.
I totally love it. The one thing I did notice is that you're a prolific traveler. It said almost 225 days a year are devoted to traveling.
Yeah.
What is that like to see that much of the world and to be that consistent with delivering music to people?
I find that traveling can be extensive. Like, I look at my stuff in July coming up in England. I've got 1 day off in about 3 weeks. I'm there on the 7th to the 28th, and I have 1 day off. And I know that every time I go, I play my horn at a gig. It's always a challenge. It's not a challenge. It's more of a mission to play the best I can every time. But the traveling is really intense, and sleeping in a different place every night or every 2 nights it's a challenge to do that. But I don't know how to answer that other than it's interesting the places that I've seen and gone to and stayed at, little places, big places, 5-star places, like 1-star places, different people's homes, getting to know their families and seeing their kids grow up, going all many years of traveling. So I don't know. I don't get tired of it, but I'm hoping that I can keep the inertia going, because the travel on the road, especially when you're away from America and you're in another country, takes a lot of energy. I'm doing it on my own, so I travel and I go meet up with the bands at the clubs. They have different rhythm sections, so I play with a different band almost every night, different people.
Well, so over your career, you've released 17 recordings as a leader, many others as a sideman, and collaborations like with Phil Woods. Was there a particular era, or not your most favorite project, but just a project that really made you grow immensely as an artist?
I think with Phil Woods, the last couple of records with him, I think that set me off into a different direction. I recorded another album after the first album with Phil. I did an album called Motif, and that was its quartet. And that rhythm section also we did the live one with Phil. So I felt my playing has grown a lot since that affiliation with Mr. Woods. And then I I just recorded an album in England in November, and I'm working on a new a quartet album. It's all mixed almost on Whaling City. It's going to come out at the end of the year. And then I'm supposed to do another recording with the guitarist Peter Hand from New York, the guitarist. And we're going to do something for Whaling next year in 2017. So pretty busy.
Absolutely. You were inducted into the Rhode Island Hall of Fame in 2016, and you've gotten awards over your life. Let me ask you this. Is there an award, not your favorite one, but was there an award that you received that just kind of threw you into a surprise? You just didn't expect it, and it really was special for you?
Yeah, this one, the Rhode Island Music Hall. I had no idea. I got a phone call and someone said, "Hey, this is me, Rick Belair." I said hi, and I said, "Yeah, I wanted to tell you that we're inducting you into the Music Hall of Fame, and I want you to keep it quiet for a couple of months, but we're going to get back in touch with you and then make it public in February." So. Wow, that was cool. I knew it for a few months, and I kept it silent. I didn't tell anybody, and I was thinking about it, pondering on how cool that was. And actually, a lot of people say it's really an honor to have that, and like to be acknowledged, and by. But it's the same. I'm not. It doesn't affect me about what I think about myself. It doesn't make me think more of myself because of it. It just, to me, those are things of acknowledgement by people that know you or don't know you, and they will know you, So it helps the whole scheme of the picture. It's not one thing that does it, Yeah, keep it all in perspective, but it all comes into my music somehow. Yeah, all my experiences come out in my music. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
That's cool. Let me ask you this. We touched on your teacher at the Rhode Island College. Let me ask you this. What's your philosophy on teaching kids jazz and music?
Take it really seriously, and I try to put myself in their place, but it's to set an example of what is really done. See, for me, I'm a true artist that's doing what I'm teaching, and I might not be the best teacher technically, but I think that I teach well enough that they can see it done, and they know that I'm the real deal that does it, and I'm not just doing a book teaching, So I think my philosophy for any teaching that I do is to be patient and try to give the information and show, and then not to take it personal that someone's not doing as well as they should. But knowing that you did as much as you could to, give the information, it's up to them to take that and to go and do something with it. That's what you do. And that's all you can do as a teacher. That's it. That's my philosophy on it. Is that a good one, do you think? Or do you think I should do you have any ideas about what I said that you think could be better? I don't know.
No, I think that's a great way. I think what you said is the epitome of a good musician. You take it seriously, you dig into what's true to you, and you give that to the future, because that's what you're doing. You're planting a seed for all of these musicians that are going to take over where you are at some point,
Hopefully, so. Yeah. I like to see more excitement. I'll play piano and some chords in my classes, and I say, listen to this chord, I'm all excited about it, and there's no reaction, I'm saying, don't you hear that? Isn't that great? The sound of this voicing, that this is what you do. You put this, you make the third, seventh, and then you put this and the ninth on top there, and you just, they hear it, but they don't get excited about it. Some people don't get excited about it as much as others, Yeah. So people don't hear things the same as others. Everybody hears differently.
What teacher gave that excitement to you? Do you remember a teacher specifically that was really passionate and gave you that bug?
Herb Pomeroy, teacher in line writing and trumpet player at Berkeley. Herb Pomeroy, John LaPorta, clarinet player, Joe Viola, saxophone, Dick Johnson. I consider him a teacher. See that those four.
those people right there would be considered heroes to a lot of people in the world of jazz. Who were your jazz heroes? Who do you admire the most?
Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. I like Phil Woods, of course. Art Pepper, Dexter Gordon, Pepper Adams, Freddie Hubbard, Lee Morgan, Benny Carter, Cannonball Adderley, Chick Corea. I love Chick. Benny Golson. I mean, I've got so many. I mean, I go on and on. And I play with. I think back at all the great players I played with and all instruments. It's amazing. Just drummers, legendary drummers I played with. I've done a lot of stuff. I look back in hindsight and I think, if I had to write everything down, I know I'd be forgetting somebody, but
yeah,
it's really, really great. I played with Red Rodney. Never came out. Mm-hmm.
I love him. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Let's whittle this list down. If you could pick one of those musicians right there and go back in time and see them play live, who would you want to see?
Wow. Man, I want to see more of them. I want to see them all, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. That's the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That would be something.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Sonny Rollins, too, Sonny Rollins, Wayne Shorter,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So many players, I mean, we all have a voice, when you get to a certain point, either you become really well known or you become known or you have a different level, it's hard.
The great thing about Wayne and Sonny is they're still out there doing it. When I think about that list of cats that you have to be kind of mystical about, wow, I'd like to go back and see them, you can still see Wayne and Sonny out doing their thing. So,
Sonny, I hope you're still playing a lot. I don't know about that, though.
Yeah, they're getting to that point. So let me ask you this, just a general question. You're a man that has dedicated your life to the jazz arts. Why do you love jazz?
I think it's a freedom of speech in a way that I have freedom to this is my special thing that I can do, and it's something that no one can take from me, and I can play my instrument, and I mean I can make melodies happen and stuff, and I guess it's the closest thing I can come to like God or something that's out of the reach of humanity. It's more of a spiritual thing to me now. And I just feel the horn vibrate. I just feel that vibration. It's complicated to explain. It's a very special feeling.
I only have a couple more questions. And one question that I have for you is this. Everybody has their version of who you are. Your fans do, your family does, your business associates. But who do you think you are?
Oh, geez, you got some great questions, man. I think I'm inside my body somehow, but I mean, and I try to keep myself healthy. So I think I'm a conscientious person that has respect for other people and likes to treat people like I like to be treated, and I like the music has to be sincerely played. There's no way that I cannot play music that way. So I think that I'm actually an artist, but I don't think I'm somebody else. I think I'm Greg Abate. That's what I think I am. I'm original.
Let me ask you this. This is my final question. You're far from being done, but you've talked about, if you had to write down everybody you played with, you'd probably forget somebody. But when you think about the entirety of your jazz career that's been very layered and very busy, what do you want people to remember you by when they peel back the layers of jazz history and they come across your name? How do you want them to remember who you are and what you gave to the world?
Some nice compositions and a feeling of sincerity and, a nice tone. The guy had a great sound.
100% agree with that. Hey, Greg, thank you again for your time, man. Good luck with everything. And
well, thanks a lot. Say hi to all the musicians out there. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, Rhode Island, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Greg for his warmth, his music, and his great jazz story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or you can visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things Neon Jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.